I received notification of a reduction in the asking price of a plot of land in Penzance in Cornwall, and I wanted to take a look to see how the numbers stacked up now. So this is a townhouse, 4 bedrooms over 3 floors, and it has detailed planning permission. We've got some off-street parking. The image here from Google shows us that we're set back from the sea here, so we're not far from the harbour, and the agent does have some additional information that we can use to take a look. So we've got some services details here, the planning notice, which is going to be useful to review to see if there's any planning conditions, but it does look like the owner of the plots has hired a planning consultant. So the details here, fairly nice plot, overgrown, so we'll need to cut all the weeds back. That might reveal some horrors in the ground, but we'll find out in due course, I guess, if we do a site survey. And the location, pretty nice location, well established road, some nice houses, family houses on the road, and so we'll have services that we can connect to. So let's do an evaluation. I have taken the postcode and the details already and entered them into our model here. So we've got the location address. The postcode here will be useful to link through to sold prices so we can do a review of comparable evidence. So it is a detached house, it is 4 bedrooms, but what we are going to do is we're going to reduce this down to a small house because it's a smaller footprint, and what we'll do in the construction costs a bit later on, we'll add on an extra floor which will compensate, and that will turn the costs into a 4-bedroom townhouse, or the equivalent of a 4-bedroom townhouse. Valuations, let's have a quick look at the area. So I've entered some basic parameters into Rightmove already. This is the postcode. Price guide, well, we're paying 140 for the plot, so we're starting off at 125 and we're going up. 4 bedrooms, so it's a 4-bedroom, and we're including anything that's been sold. And the only thing that comes up for the postcode itself is just the plot of land that's for sale. So we'll extend the search by half a mile to see if we can capture any additional information. And there is a nice spread of properties here. Good valuations, good asking prices, so very interesting coming down. So it looks like we have to be a little bit careful here because the property here, 4-bedroom detached, very nice, attractive looking house, but it looks like it's overlooking the sea, so that's going to account for its premium. And so if we look down the list here, we can see that 4-bedroom semi-detached at 375, 360, 4-bedroom terraced house. So we should be okay to allocate around the 350, 360 range for now, and then we'll review that in detail. We'll get on the phones if we like the property, and we'll see what values we could potentially achieve. The fact that it's a townhouse, some people don't like townhouses, but we'll leave that for another time. Let's do an initial review. So let's put in the value of 360, and so let's progress on with some of the model. The development timing, this is important because these are all the periods in which we have to pay for our loans and interest on our loans. So the quicker we can turn around a development, the less we have to pay in loan interest, and the quicker we can either remortgage or get our money out of the project. So if we need to, we can go into the options here and we can refine some of the timings here. So these are all the different types of operations and things that we need to do in order to get ourselves from a building plot all the way through to a completed property that we can either sell or move into. So we can change some of the timings. The model provides some suggestions for how long things might take, so that's always available to us to tweak. So let's move on. So it does come with full planning permission, so we don't need planning, and that removes all of these costs, plus it truncates the amount of time that's allocated for the project. So at current rates, we're looking like we're in the region of what the agent is actually asking for this property. So things are looking good, always subject to the final valuation, of course. Development finance, we'll leave that, we'll come back to that if we want to go ahead with the project, and then we can always delve into some of these parameters about financing. Okay, so professional fees. It does come with full planning, but we may not have good enough plans to put together a tender for a contractor, so we'll allow for some plans. Structural engineer, townhouse, fairly level plots. What we'll do is we'll allow something for a engineer to give us some advice, and then that's going to give us an idea of whether or not we need further details. Quantity surveyor, will get someone in to help us out with producing quantities, schedule of materials, schedule of plants, and maybe give some advice on the form of contract. Health and safety supervisor, what we may do actually is we may ask the architect to help us with the health and safety stuff, so we might be able to save some money on this. What we'll do is we'll make an allocation of £1,000 there, and then we'll add that to the architect's budget. Local authority costs. Now, community infrastructure levy and section 106 agreements. This is a bit of a risk, so let's see if there's anything in the Cornwall area in terms of community infrastructure levy. We may not have to pay this, the landowner may have already paid it, but we'll see if there's any community infrastructure levy costs. Doesn't seem to be anything in the Cornwall area as yet. Now that could mean that the council there, so we're not coming up with any costs here, so our database is obviously showing that Cornwall Council hasn't made a decision yet on infrastructure levies, or it could be that there's this nil charge, which is probably unlikely. So some more research to do on that. So what we may do is we may allow some monies for a section 106 agreements, and let's allow around £5,000. That gives us a budget to work with. So this whole area is a big risk because it's a big unknown, so we'll have to do some have to be very careful with these costs here, so we'll come back to these another time. Site survey, always really allow for a site survey of some sorts. Utility search, utilities are in the area, but let's allow for a survey and finding the services we're going to connect to, because it is an existing road, so we should see some services in the road, so we should be able to find those reasonably easily. Soil investigation, we might need to do some soil investigation work on this site actually, but let's start off with a desktop survey. So our options are on the construction side. Now the first thing we need to do is change the location for the prices in the database, and we'll make it southwest, so a 3% premium on average UK prices. Traditional brick and block, let's allow for a timber frame because we want to be in and out as quickly as possible. Design and build, possibly. If we do that, then we save money on the architectural fees. Townhouse, nothing specifically architecturally fancy, I think we can do. So maybe let's put that in as a design and build option. So you can see there we've potentially got some savings here that we can make. And if we go back to our professional fees, we can see that the architectural costs now have actually disappeared altogether. And we could probably also get rid of let's leave the health and safety allocation there. Going design and build potentially means that the scheme is more affordable. Now, we did say that we are going to add an extra floor. So construct an extra floor. There we are, added on an extra 30,000 onto the build cost there. Anything else we need to add? So no, we'll leave the rest of it as is. So our costs are coming in at about £1,600 a metre squared. So we can review that in due course. Let's move on. Developers' profits now. What's our return on risk that we want to allow? So reasonably, because we've got detailed planning permission, reasonably low risks, £50,000 return or £50,000 equity does sound like it's about reasonable actually for the property. It's a well-established road. If we wanted to reduce that to 10%, that would mean that we'd make less money, but we're getting closer to the valuation that the agents have set, which again is always dependent on achieving something in the 360 range. We're allowing for estate agency fees on the completion of the property. Now, if we decide to move in, then we'll make that saving, and here the numbers do seem to stack up. So we'll allow for estate agency fees and land financing. So this is the amount of money that we need to borrow to buy the land and hold the land. And we've got some potential stamp duty costs here, some legal fees we're allowing for. That's for buying the land, and then once we own the land, it becomes our responsibility. So we've got to put up some fencing, so we can tweak the amount of cost that we allow for security. And let's get a decent insurance policy because it's an established road. Okay, so this is our residual land valuation. So we're looking at if we can achieve 360 on a completed property, we're looking to offer in the region of around 132. Now that's assuming that we're happy with a 10% return on risk as a developer's profit, or as the effectively the lump sum that we could use as part of our equity. 10%, 36,000. Maybe I would revisit this actually. I think we'll leave it as the model has suggested and go for around 14-15% and £50,000 return. So if we were to offer in the region of 120 to 125, I'm sure that our offer would be considered, possibly turned down. So it'll be down to then looking at where we can make some savings on this project to be able to get closer to the 140,000 asking price. But certainly the opportunity looks very good. Nice road, not far from the sea, and certainly not far from the main train station. So definitely one to consider. A long way to go for a site inspection. If anybody's in the area who wants to go and take a look at the plots, certainly would be interested to see what they make of it. Okay, that's all for now.